Hi, my name's Steve. Welcome to another Mind Bomb training video. Today's topic is how to conduct an employee appraisal. First of all, you might wonder why you want to get involved in employee appraisals. There's obviously a huge amount of management time and effort goes into the preparation for them, but they are a very worthwhile tool if you want to think about the way of bringing employees back to focus and increasing motivation, setting new guidelines and new targets for each of the employees. And particularly as the business grows, so as you go through 10, 20, 30, 40 employees, it becomes more important because you can't really have the natural communication backwards and forwards that you would do when the business is only very small. So it's better to actually have something formalised in the approach. Then you can actually keep people on track and hopefully more productive over the time that they're working with you. So that would be the main reason for investing the time in doing it. And from experience, I can say it's very much a worthwhile part of the small business. Any small business that really wants to expand and grow has to do the best by their staff, and part of that has got to be a constant monitoring and reappraisal of performance and looking forward to what else the employee will be capable of and adding to the business. Any employee appraisal really works best when it's an open two-way dialogue, and it's actually got to be give and take backwards and forwards, so you can't just have it all as one-way traffic. It should actually be an opportunity for the employee to say what they're thinking and what they would like to do. If they have different ideas to where their career is going, then it's a good time to be discussing all of that kind of thing as well. So really, make sure it's a two-way street and tell employees it's their opportunity to get focused and think about what they want to do, and make sure that it's very much an open channel, two-way for communication. Obviously, as part of the motivation, then it can be very useful to heap praise where it's due, and you want to make sure that people are recognised for the work that they've done over the year. So yes, it needs to be, often there needs to be a very positive experience, or there should be a positive experience for most people, but also there can be the full and frank discussion sometimes. I can remember quite a number of appraisals where it comes as no surprise to people. I think quite often they realise that they're not really fitting or working out in the job that they're doing for whatever reason, and it can be a focus for everyone to actually think about whether it's the right thing for them to do in the future. Quite often I've actually found, well, not quite often, a few times I've actually found the appraisal is a way to open the door effectively for employee to reconsider what they're doing and maybe to leave the company and work elsewhere. So yeah, it can actually be a useful exercise from both sides, but I'd like to think 90% of the time, if you've got good employees and everyone's working together, then there should be a very positive experience for the employee as well. But just bear in mind that it's got to be about being honest and direct with people, and if it means that they're going to be managed out of the business, then that has to be part of it as well. If you think about when you would like to arrange the appraisals, certainly I've done both. I've actually tried a 6-month frequency, but I've found that annual tends to be better. The problem with arranging appraisals every 6 months, it's a huge management effort and it can soak up an awful lot of time. Obviously you've got to prepare each individual appraisal, then deliver them, and then there may be some work afterwards once the appraisals have actually been done. So it tends to make for a very busy week when you're involved in preparing them and getting them delivered. So yeah, trying to do that twice a year is quite an onerous task for the management of the business. Individually, it might not be too bad from an employee's point of view, but from a manager's point of view, then I think it's probably better done annually. And it also gives a reasonable interval of time for most people to grow, to expand, to change direction of what they're doing. And that can be a useful period of time as well. If we then look at where to do them, really you have to treat them like interviews, the same as you would an interview for a new position. So it's got to be somewhere that is away from everybody else, away from distractions. It should be kept confidential, so you can't really be doing it anywhere that you can be overheard. All the content should be very much treated the same as an interview. And yeah, if you interview people off site, then maybe that's the way to do the staff appraisals as well. If you have a convenient hotel where you can get a meeting room for a day or two, then that's probably a good way of organising it. But yeah, give some thought to the location. You want to be careful in considering where you're going to do the appraisals as well. So if we look at how the mechanics of the appraisal, basically it's an objective approach that you want to take. I've always used the same basic form, and what that does is give a prompt for discussion. So we have a number of headings that we're going to look at for the appraisal. Things like the obvious ones like timekeeping, attendance, that kind of thing, but also characteristics like creativity, looking at particular skills, maybe IT skills, all of those kind of things. So we're going to actually score the employee on each of those characteristics, on each of those traits as they've performed across the business. So as you see it, so you have to then allocate a score for each of the particular criteria, and we've actually done them scored out of 5 in the past. It's enough so that you can actually get a feeling of whether someone's sort of in the middle, or whether they're a 5 out of 5, or even a 1 out of 5. I don't think there's too many surprises for most people once you actually see the scores, but give a lot of thought to the comment. You have to be specific. If you're going to give a very low score or a very high score, then you need to be being specific about where that's come from. So yeah, if the score is average, then maybe it's not so much of an issue to highlight in the comments. But certainly, if it's one end or the other, make sure to give some thought to why you've allocated a low or a particularly high score, and then that can be important for the employee to make sure that it's fair and objective. In the preparation for the appraisals, obviously with expanding numbers of employees within a business, it can become more onerous for the owner or manager to take those on. So certainly as a business owner, as you start to expand, then one of the tasks for the other managers is going to be to deliver the employee appraisals. So make sure that you're thinking about that and discussing with all the relevant managers exactly what they've got to do at the same time as you're going through the appraisal process. And yeah, it can be quite daunting for some of the managers that maybe aren't natural people person. So you've actually got to make sure that the managers are clued into the whole process as well. And equally, it's a good idea to spend some time discussing with the other managers with the business particular individuals that cross over the groups, or maybe those specific ones, as I say, that you're trying to bring on within the company that you want to keep an eye on. So you've got to make sure that you're actually looking at all of these different aspects within the staff and the appraisal process. So once you've completed the appraisal form in advance, then you've put all the relevant comments down, you've given the scores to the individual traits or characteristics for that person. Then you're going to give them the form in advance of the meeting, quite often just the day before, so that they have chance to. So the appraisal, once you get into the meeting with the employee, should be a look back at the year just gone, but also considering the future as well, looking at the next 12 months. If there's a particular direction that that employee wants to go in, then that should be coming through in the appraisal, or even something that maybe the employee hasn't thought of, but you would like to push them more towards doing something that you feel they're strong at, or that maybe you just have a gap within the business that you want to start to fill, so that you're looking to push someone in a particular direction. So all of that's got to come through in the meeting itself. And as the saying goes, try and accentuate the positive. Make sure that you can always think these things through in advance, so that you can actually make sure that the person on the receiving end is going to feel positive about the changes that you're suggesting, and that they should hopefully be buying into. So ideally, it should be a very much a two-way discussion, as I've already mentioned. Similar to an interview, really. There's no point in just going over the same ground that you've written in the comments. The employees had a chance to read that. If they've seen the form the day before, then you don't really want to be just reading out the form again and giving them the same comments. So you want to build on that. You want to actually be able to thank the individual for work, thank them for their effort in a certain direction, and make sure they're focused on where they're going next. Look at the next 12 months as well. So one of the big discussions is always about training, and that should be a two-way discussion as well. The employee should have some idea of what they would need for training, but equally you need to be able to point out the training opportunities and where you would actually see them moving towards in the future. So as regards the form itself, I forget where we actually developed the form from, but I don't actually have a means of doing a download of the form at the moment. So what I'll do is I'll actually just put it up on as separate panels. If you want to actually pause the video when the form actually shows, then you can make your own notes, and you can either adapt it or try and recreate it. I've only recreated it from memory myself, so you might want to tweak some of the characteristics that you're going to be marking your employees on. And obviously it needs to be more reflective of your type of business, so just give some thought to the different headings, but at least you can see the bones of what we've used in the past. And it always used to give a good benchmark for the employees across the business as a whole. As I say, we've used scores out of 5, so a score between 1 and 5 to indicate whether you think an employee's done something particularly well, or perhaps not so well. And then you can actually add the comments on the form in the space that is provided. Make sure to give plenty of thought with the comments. With the comments, you want to be looking to create a discussion, but make sure that they're fair and objective, and just be as honest as possible with it. On the last page, you should be able to work out the overall score for the employee, and provide a general comment section about how you think the year just gone has actually been. So the employee should also be encouraged to fill in their comments and bring that to the meeting. You should also be able to compare notes, and hopefully the two will broadly coincide. And if so, you'll be singing off the same hymn sheet for the coming year as well. At the end of the form, you'll find a training summary. Again, looking at the year just gone, and also proposed training that you will fill in at the appraisal. So looking for the coming year. Once this has been completed and you've agreed what they're likely to actually need, then you've got all the other assessment forms, all the other appraisal forms back as well. And you can draft out a training schedule over the next 6 to 12 months. So again, it could be quite onerous if you're going to try and do all the training within a short space of time. But if you can spread it out, it gives you the opportunity then to group people together to do the same kinds of training, and you can also work out whether you can do that training in-house with more experienced staff, or maybe you actually need to send people to external training, which is going to have a higher cost, more of an implication on the business. And finally then, there's one bear trap that I would advise you to avoid, and that is merging the discussion over the employee appraisal with any discussion over salary review or bonus allocation, anything to do with the money side of things. We have actually done that in the past, and I can tell you it is a real problem. If you start with a very positive appraisal for a member of staff, and you talk about what they would be expected to do, increased responsibility, more training for next year, etc. And then you come to the end of it and say, well, actually we don't have much in the budget for a significant a salary increase. And you can imagine how that goes down when they've just had a big build-up for how the appraisal has gone. So yeah, totally separate discussions. Obviously there's a lot more goes into the salary reviews, depends on how the company is doing overall, how you've actually done against your targets, what you're expecting to see for the next 12 months. All of that goes into the mix for any salary or bonus discussions. So yeah, keep them separate from the appraisal process. That way everyone can be a bit more objective and hopefully work together to identify what's best for the individual within the company and how they can actually move on and progress. But that's it. I can recommend it to you. It's definitely worth doing and developing those skills within your business. And I hope that they go smoothly and it motivates your team to deliver more and do more for the company overall. I hope you enjoy what you've seen today, and don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell. If you haven't actually commented already, I'm always pleased to hear from you. So yeah, any comments warmly appreciated, and thank you very much. I'll see you next time.